This is C programming. You open a new page, a new source file. Then we are going to do a program that calculates the area of a rectangle and also the perimeter of that same rectangle. So that slash is for comment, slash and an asterisk. You put it when you want to put a comment, something that the compiler will not read. It will skip that part that has that. If you start with the slash star, then you have to close with the star and the slash. Then you now put the preprocessor directive. This is put in all C programs as a directive to the processor. Then the program shall return int. Int main is the program. Then we now work with the variables. So our variables are length. We'll also need the width, and also what we are calculating is the area. We are also calculating the perimeter. Remember to put a semicolon at the end. Then we request, this is what the screen will display for the user. You type it inside this. Printf is what the screen will display when the program is run. Enter. Right now we need data, which is the length. The length of the rectangle. That's the message we want. So we put it under printf. Can put some spacing there. Then the machine will read, the compiler will read the variable as an integer. The sign is for reading integer, data of integer type. You put the comma, then the sign for address of length to create the memory location. That sign and is for address of. We've now requested for the length. We now want to request for the width of the rectangle. The user will get that message. Width of the rectangle. Also put some spacing. After that we then read that width. We read the width. After we read the width using read data of integer type, address of, sign of width, then we now do the calculations. Area is equals to length multiplied by the width. Then we do calculation of perimeter of the rectangle. Perimeter shall be equals to length plus width multiplied by 2. Remember to put a semicolon. Then after that, we now display our answers. What the message of the answer. So it shall be what the screen will display. The screen I'm putting /n so that I may have some gap. Another line has a gap, some gap. It's optional. I want to have some spacing for displaying the answer. The message will read the area is equal to the sign for reading data of integer type of the rectangle. I then do the calling. I call area, and remember to put a semicolon at the end. I also would want a message saying, another message for the screen. This message we can read, I want another gap. We put a gap again of 2 lines. The perimeter of the rectangle is equal to the sign of reading data of integer type of the rectangle. I then do the calling of my answer, which is perimeter. And remember to put a semicolon at the end. Then close the program. After closing the program, I save, give a name, any name, convert to C files, give any name, any name you want, and save. After saving, you can compile, make sure there are no errors, then you run. So that's the run mode. This is the message that the user will get. I've entered 20 as a dry run. The width is 40, so my area is equals to 800. So it's doing the multiplication of the two. And if you look at my code at the back, let me do the resizing. So position it well to view the code. So the message, this gap here is what you are seeing here. This is the gap you are seeing. Then we are doing this gap here. This is the gap of 2 lines. This reading data is the positioning of my answer is coming in between the sentence. The positioning of that answer is coming in between the sentence. Then you can be able to know that. So that's the program for calculating the area of a rectangle. The processing is happening here. Processing, and then the output. That's what we mean by a simple program you can use. Yeah. You make sure you saved, you compile, and once you compile, and then you now can run that way. Yes, program calculate the sum and the product. So you then first start with a comment, which is a slash and a star, a C program, to calculate, to do sum, product, and average. Of three integer numbers. You then close the statement. Is a comment that helps you in revision. Preprocessor directive has hash include standard input output .h. Our program is, we are using int main, the function, the body. You then work with the opening braces. Then we start by putting the variables. We need variables, the three variables, sum, and the product as integer. For a case of average, we are using float because you may get numbers that have decimal points. Then we request for the data. So this is the message that the user will get when the program is on run mode. And you put some gap, put a semicolon at the end, then read the program, the compiler will read data that is of integer type, the sign for reading data of integer type, comma, address of sign, and the variable is a. And remember to put a semicolon at the end. After requesting for the first number, we then request for the second number. Reading data of the message that will appear, and it also reads second number. I haven't put some space there so that we may see the difference later on. It reads data of integer type, address of the second number, which is B, semicolon. We then read the third number. We can copy paste because we are repeating and then change, do the adjustments. It's the third number. Then we do the address of C. That's the data we need. We then now need to do the processing of calculation of sum. Sum shall be equals to A plus B plus C. Then we do product. Product shall be A times B times C. Then we do the average. Be careful with the spelling. equals to sum divided by the three numbers. And remember to put a semicolon at the end. That's the processing. Then we now need to output our answer. The screen will read what we put inside these ones. Sign of reading integer type to position the answer. The answer of the sum is integer, so it shall read the answer, and then the phrase will read is the sum of the three numbers. We then do the calling of sum, and remember to put a semicolon at the end. Then we again display the product. We want the answer to read dash, that sign for reading data of integer type is the product of the three numbers. We then call product. Then we do the display of the average. Average is float, so we will put F instead of D to read data of float type. Is the average of the three numbers. It's just a display of how I want my sentence to read. Then we do the calling of average. Spelling has to be correct. Remember to put a semicolon at the end. Then after we've done our output, which is our display, three numbers, 2 are integer type. The third one is a float type, meaning it can accommodate numbers with decimal point. We then close the program. After that, we save, choose the location, give a name, any name you want, joined as a source of C file. You save. After saving, you compile to ensure there is no error. Then you can now run. So that's the sentence. Type the first number, second number. Notice the space. 7 is very close to the sentence. Also, the arrangement of the answers you may need to adjust. So to adjust that, you may have phrases that are good at displaying. So I'll put some space at the second number. So I'll put a /n here to start a new sentence, a new line. I'll also put another one here. You can even put 1 or 2. Compile again and run. Try run. There's still some space here, so we'll see where that space is. Now these ones are arranged well, which is then we need to add some space here. So we'll close. Come here and put some space. After that, you also can put space even here if you want to. It's just a way of displaying your answers. You can put a new line here, which is just a display. It should be inside the opening and closing speech marks. Then you compile and run, compile and run. So when you put figures, the second will also have some space. Look at the spacing for display. Look at the gap you're having. That's good for display. So the answer could be correct, but you also need to look at the display of the user. So if I reduce and put it to the side, you're able to see what we mean by the display. This gap here is what you're seeing here. This gap is also what you're seeing here. This gap is what you're also seeing here. So they're in one line. Then these ones now are, after them adding, you are seeing some space in between the phrases. For average is float. Average is float. That's what we mean. That's a simple program that can guide you in revising. Remember, you to save. It is already saved, and you compile and then run. Your program will work. Make sure there are no errors down there. Yes. We now can do a program that is for working with constants. So the program that can work with constants would be a case of circle. Maybe comment can be using constants. Pi as 3.142 to calculate the area and circumference of a circle. That's a comment. You can put 2 slashes at the beginning, or a slash and a asterisk, and then you close with an asterisk and a slash. Header file, standard input output library.h extension. We are defining the constant, so our constant can be pi 3.142 as we are told. Then we start the program. Then opening braces. The variables will need to have one is radius, diameter, area should be, there are cases you may get decimal points, so area can be A, circumference can be C. It can be in full or in short. Then we request for data. So this is what the screen will display. Enter the radius of the circle. Then that's the phrase. I've put some space after the enter the radius of the circle. Then we have the reading, which is now scan with an F, reading data of integer type, the sign for reading data of integer type, then address of R, address of. And after reading, we now do calculations. Area shall be pi r squared, or r times r. Then we need to get the diameter, which is diameter is not that one. Diameter is radius times 2. Double the radius, it gets us the diameter. Then we now do the circumference shall be pi d. Then that's the processing. Then we now do the output. Print with an F what I'm putting some line for display, proper display. The area of the circle is equal to, put some spacing, and then after that read data of float type, because area is float. Then we call A and put a semicolon. We then display our circumference. I also would want to so I can put some spacing there at the end. Also, I also can put here, or any can do, just the display to be visible. The circumference of the circle is equal to it's also reading data of float type. Then we do the calling of C, which is short for circumference. Can put a gap there at the beginning for better visibility. Then we close the program. After that we processing output. This is diameter by D. That displays that. We then the pi is up there as the defined. We then save, give a name, any name as one word. We save, then we compile. There are no errors. Make sure you don't have errors. Then you can now, after compiling, you can run. That's how the displays come in. As I put 7, the area of the circle is equals to 153.9. The circumference is that one. But reduce to view and maybe explain this code. So we are doing the area and circumference of a circle, header file, defining of the constant. The program starts. These are the variables. Then we request for data input. This is the sentence. We read data of integer type, address of R. We do the processing. After the processing of D, we then get the diameter, then do that, use that to do the circumference. Then the spacing of my output, spacing here is what you're seeing here, and then the sentence of a second, and you circumference, then you call C, and then that's the spacing. That's how you work with the constants. Case of a circle, you do the reading, do the processing using pi, which was up there as 3.142. Then constant can be any figure. Right now we are working with a circle, so our constant is pi, a figure that doesn't change in our calculation. You save. After you save, you compile to ensure there are no errors. Once you see there are no errors down there, you can now run the program. That's how the program is. A very simple program. It can be very good for revision. Very good for revision. Again, working with constants. You can start a new, do another example for working with constants. can put comments of what I want to do. Can do a program that involves salary, C program, to calculate the net salary. Net salary after maybe adding addition of some percentage, maybe to bonus, 12%, and some other constants, maybe some percentage of commission, maybe 6% commission. And the deduction of 5% pay as you earn, maybe. So I can use those three. That's the comment. I then should start the program. The header file is that one. Library is standard input output extension.h. Can define the constant values that do not change. One is bonus, 12%. You convert it to decimal point. Work with another one, commission. Always work with the with decimal points. It's easier. Commission 0.06. We then have another constant pay, which is 0.05. After that, we can now start the program. The program is int main. We open braces, variables. They are float, so can work with float if I want my figures to be accommodating decimal points. If you put int, then you will only be working with whole numbers. And net salary, then we request for input of data to the user. The input of the data. Can put some gap. Remember to close the semicolon at the end. Read the data of float type. If you work with float, then you have to remember to put F there. Address of sign salary. After requesting data, we then should now do our processing. Net salary shall be equals to our salary, what we are earning, plus the additions. One addition is the bonus. Bonus is salary times 0. Salary times the constant. We then do addition of our commission figure, which is salary multiplied by commission, which our case it's 0.06. It's declared or defined up there. Then we deduct pay as you earn. It shall be salary times pay. Put a semicolon at the end. then we display our answers. Here processing is just a single line. The net salary is equal to any phrase you want. We are reading data of float type. We then do the calling of net salary. Be careful with the spelling. You can put some gap. And we put a semicolon at the end. Then we close the program. After that, we then do the processing. There's the pay figure, the commission amount, and the bonus figure. Then you save. Give any name as one word, maybe. Any name. It's a source file. So here you have to change the source file. And save. And you compile. If there are errors, it will show you down there. Then after compiling and there are no errors, you can now run. So if I put 10,000 and net salary, so if you move this a little, that's the output. You can maybe move it. So this is the figure. After adding the constants, and the variables are 2. We are doing the processing. After processing, we display our answer. So net salary and the salary are the 2 variables. After requesting the entry of data, we read, do the processing, and output the results. Simple program. Simple program. You compile, make sure there are no errors down there. If there are errors, you make sure you check your spelling, check how your spelling is, and if there's a place you've made a mistake, you correct. Save. Then you compile and run. Simple program. Simple program. We have another program here. Let's do a program of if. Program of if something like age. Comment using if function. To display underage. To age below 18 and adult. To otherwise. That's the program. You header file. Standard input output. h.h. Then you start the program. Opening braces. Variables age. Then we request for that data, the data to be entered, age. I'm putting some space. We read that age by reading data of integer type, address of age, remember the spelling. Then we start our if age is greater or equal to 18, then we read a message saying the person is an adult. You are an adult. Put a semicolon. Else, another message saying a case where it's otherwise. Let the message read, you are underage. Then we close the program. After that, we save. Check if there's a place you've made any mistake, especially of spelling. You save. After saving, give any name as one word. It's a source C file. You save. After saving, you compile. After compiling, you can run. This is the message you get. Enter your age. Put any number. It brings a message you are an adult. You can resize this before making some adjustments. So there's the message, this one. I can, that's the underage and overage. It's a very simple program. We can do a program for if, again, using a case of a figure being checked whether it's even or odd. A program that accepts any integer number. That means whole numbers, so as to display if the number is odd or even. We'll start with the header preprocessor directive, as always. Start the program. Opening braces. Then the variables. We are using one variable. and request the data, input data. The message should read enter the number of your choice, any number, to check whether it's an even number or an odd number. Remember to put some spacing and a semicolon. Read that data. It is of integer type. Read data of integer type. Address of in the memory of number, semicolon. Then we start with if that number, whatever number you put, modulo 2 is equals to 0. If the number is divided by 2 and the remainder is 0, or there's no remainder, then that number must be an even number. You can put a spacing there for better visibility. The number is an even number. Put a semicolon, else the opposite. Then if it is not having a remainder as 0, that number must be an odd number. And then you put a semicolon and close the program. After that, you check if everything is okay. Then you save. If everything okay, you save. Give any name. It's a C source file. After saving, you compile to confirm there's no error. After you compile, you run. That's the message I'm getting. I put any number, put 7. The number is an odd number. Can maybe position this well for more explanation. So the variable is int, which is number. I've put 7. I've put some spacing there, and it reads. And I've also put some spacing, as you can see. You compile and run. It's a very good program. Put a number like 4. It gives you 4 is an even number. It is picking that because when you do the division, the remainder is 0. Very good program. Another program for if, I think the last one now, that should help you in revision. You can put a statement, a comment with 2 slashes, or a slash and an asterisk. If you start with a slash and asterisk, you have to also close with a slash, with asterisk and a slash at the end. Or simply start with 2 slashes at the beginning. You would need to put anything at the end. A program that displays the largest number amongst maybe 3. And that from the keyboard. Preprocessor directive as usual. Standard input output .h, the header file. Then we can use void, meaning we won't be returning we won't be returning a number or a value. We are simply picking the largest number. We are not generating new figures. So int is the data type. Number one, we are working with 3 numbers. We only want to be filling in a random 3 numbers, and it is able to show us the largest. Then we request for input data. Enter the 3 numbers. You can put all of them at once. You can use another style where you only have one phrase. Then enter all the figures at a go. You can start a new line for the cursor to go below that sentence. I can read the 3 figures at a go by putting this sign of reading data of integer type as now not 1 but 3 of them. Then I do the address of the 3 respectively. Number 1 separated by a comma. That is to a case you only want to work with one phrase up there, and then the figures, the 3 of them can follow each other, than to request for one after and then you repeat number 1, number 2. You can just have one phrase to read if you arrange them that way. Then we start with if number 1 is greater than number 2, the sign for and are 2 signs of and, the normal and sign. It's like the one for address of, but they are now 2 following each other. It's going to read as an and operator. If number 1 is greater than number 2 and number 1 is also greater than number 3, then number 1 must be the largest number. So the display should read that number, should be the positioning of that. The answer should be at the beginning. You position that sign of reading data of integer type at the beginning of the phrase. Is the largest number. Then you do the calling. Remember to put a semicolon. Else, second condition, second scenario, if the number you typed as the second is larger than the number you typed as the first, and the same number which is the second happens to be also larger than the third, then we need an output saying the output should read that number, whichever number it is read as that way, is the largest number. Then you do the calling of the second number, and remember to put a semicolon at the end. That's the second scenario. The third scenario is now when the third is now bigger. You don't need to repeat. If it's the last scenario, just put the output, because the numbers are 3. So you can just give this as that number is to a case will be the largest. Do the calling of number 3 to the third scenario. Enter the 3 numbers of your choice. You can put any 3. 99 is the largest number. That's to a case of 99 is the second number, so it has picked the second scenario. Second scenario. If we run again, put an 77, any random number. 77 is it's picking the first scenario. So whichever way you run, it will pick and run. Remember, when you use void main, you don't need to use return 0. Return 0 is only used when you've used int main at the top. So if it's int main, then you shouldn't have return 0 at the bottom. The program is only comparing the three numbers and displaying the largest amongst the three. Do another example of a simple program. Simple ones for maybe something like power. A program to calculate the square of any number. These are simple programs. Power of any number, put the header file. Header file can be 2 because you are doing something that is mathematical. I will introduce this one. This one. Start the program. I'm starting with int main, so I shall use return 0 at the bottom. Variables. The variable is number, and can be in full or in short, and the answer, which I shall call P. Then request for entry of data. Then number 2, so find square. Put some space, semicolon. Then read that figure that you type. It's integer type. Read data of integer type. Address of number. After that, then do the processing. P shall be equals to power of the number you typed to power 2. Shall multiply that number twice. Put a semicolon. That's the processing. Then we do the output. The display. The square is equal to read data of integer type. Then do the calling of P and put a semicolon. Then you close the program, return 0. So that you save. Give any name. As one word, maybe. Source C file, and you save. So confirm if everything is okay. If you compile, there are no errors, you can run. That's the message that will, the sentence that will show. If I put 25, the answer is 625. You can maybe put some spacing for better visibility. Then you compile. Each time you make a change, you have to save, or you have to compile. Then you run. And so you see there's some gap here for better visibility. You can maybe resize it. So the number find out square root 2 is this one. It reads, then it does the calculation and does the square of that number twice. Very, very simple program. Very, very simple program. You can use this for revision. So power 2 means it is multiplied twice by itself. Another simple program would be doing the square root maybe of a number. The comment can be start with 2 slashes, a C program to calculate the square root of any number. Typed from the keyboard. Header file. Standard input output. And for mathematics, another header file. Then we start the program. Open braces, variables, number and our answer, which I shall call root. Then we request for entry of data. Put some spacing, semicolon at the end. The machine should read. Data of integer type. Address of sign number. After that, we do our processing, which we are looking for root, square root. That's how you write the square root, SQRT, of that number. Something very simple. Put a semicolon at the end. That's all the processing we need. We then do the output of our answer. I will use another style here where I shall display the two figures, the number and also the answer. The square root of, put that percentage, that sign of reading data of integer type is equal to, and again put another, so that when I'm calling them, I shall call them as two of them. After that, I now call number, comma, call root. You also can display, it's a style of displaying. Then put a semicolon and you close the program. We started with int main, so we should close with return 0. So I'm displaying two, the number you typed and also the answer in one phrase. So save. After saving, I give it a name, change to source, save. After saving, I compile, check if everything is okay. I want to display the two, compile. If there are no errors, you can now run. So if I put any number there, 881 square root, it is displaying the answer. Can resize close to the spacing for better visibility, as I'm explaining. Can put that. Any change you do, you remember to compile. Say if I put 25, you see the square root of 25 is getting to appear in my sentence, and the answer is also appearing. So that's what we mean. It's able to display that 25 and the 5 in one phrase.